Hi everyone and welcome to a new episode of Unmistakable. Let's continue with our exploration of the UAP phenomenon in Northern Europe. Today we are focusing on Sweden and we have the pleasure of interviewing Tomas Bovinder and Alexander Torell, founders of UAP Sweden and ECRI, European Crash Retrieval Initiative. Tomas Bovinder is a teacher and entrepreneur for positive change. He is the co-founder of UAP Sweden and project coordinator of ECRI, European Crash Retrieval Initiative. Alexander Torell got an interdisciplinary background in Humanities and Social Sciences. He is the co-founder of ECRI and UAP Sweden and is also involved in Project Nanu, a new social science app and platform for exploration of UAP and related topics. So without further ado, let's welcome our guests. Hi Thomas, hi Alexander, welcome to Unmistakable.
Hi, and thanks
Thank you.
being
Thanks to be here.
accepted to your great show.
Oh, thank you. It's a pleasure and honor for us to have you here. We have many questions. You actually lead a great initiative. And of course, we are very curious to know what it is, what are your plans for the future, what you are currently doing. So first of all, I would start from you. I would ask you to introduce yourself a little bit, if it's fine for you. So could you start, Thomas?
Yeah, thank you. Well, my name is Tomas Bovinder, and I live in the countryside in like the central of Sweden, I guess. Well, actually to the south, but Sweden is considered mostly to be like central, and then we forget that it's a very, very long country. But anyway, it's yeah, it's just in the what shall I say about myself? It's basically a great interest of mine to be part of exploring the new possibilities in this disclosure movement. That's basically why we're here, I guess. And I was intrigued immensely by this subject 2022 when I saw a very strange phenomena myself along with my daughter. So we saw 4 orbs, just a very close encounter, maybe 100 meters above our heads. And that changed my world, basically. So I wanted to know more about this and connect with the right people. So from there on, I got to meet you, Alex, and we realized we have very similar opinions and questions about this phenomena. So we started up this new organization in Sweden called UAP Sweden. And that's basically a new, very fresh organization that accepts that the phenomena is real. And we have enough proof to actually to move away from hesitation. And also we are accepting that this phenomena is affected and caused by non-human intelligence. Great. So that's where you and I met, Alex, right?
Yeah. I don't know what I need to say about myself, not too terribly inclined to talk about myself too much, but yeah, I'm also here in Stockholm, Sweden, and don't have quite the clowns encounter that you have, Thomas, but I've seen some experiences, some weird stuff in my days as well. But more than that, just came to the conclusion that the evidence for the reality of this phenomena is already abundant, and just trying to do my little bit here to spread awareness and push this subject forward in the public discussion.
Okay, thanks. That's great. Actually, I have a question. Since we are basically encountering more or less the same, we have the same goal and spread awareness and try to inform people about this reality. Many people are very disconnected. They don't have that concept in their lives, it's non-existing phenomenon, basically for most people. So we always think, how could we communicate it to people who have no idea, who have zero experiences with that? They were not prepared. They have read anything, of the literature, of the incredibly long literature. They haven't seen the data. They haven't seen anything. So, what are you doing, for example, in UAP Sweden to address this issue?
Well, I think what's important to us, well, one of the reasons why we started this initiative is to just find a safe space in our forums and also in our podcasts and other platforms for experiencers to come through and share their story. Because this is something we've really been missing here before. There is a massive stigma and people are still reluctant to come out, but I think personal testimony is really strong, and I think most people just don't have access to that. They haven't heard those stories because the stigma is strong, and we don't have anything in our media, and it's just not part of people's reality. So just slowly opening up those gates is what we're
unless it is, until it is.
Indeed.
So yeah, and actually, so that was actually my next question. How is the public reaction, the public perception, the media coverage, and the stigma in Sweden? You partially answered already.
Yeah, well, yeah, media coverage is virtually non-existent. There is, the bare minimum whenever there's a major event like the congressional hearings, but it's next to nothing, and it goes most people by. And as a result of that, interest is low, knowledge is very low in the public, and the stigma remains high. And I think that, we hit quite badly by disinformation here in Sweden. And I think some part of the low level of interest and knowledge could also be explained by looking at our sort of national spirit. We are I would say we're rational to a fault here. We are very locked into the dominant scientific materialist worldview, and we are quite consensus seeking. So straying outside of that consensus worldview is not well, that's going to get you stigmatized, and people are very hesitant to do so. And also, I think subconsciously just don't want to go there, really.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
May I add one thing to that also? A big problem is when journalists try to cover the subject, they ask the same people and they don't really go the extra mile to actually ask scientists. Like we have a very clever scientist in our group of ECRI, Beatrice Villarroel, and she's an astrophysicist. So I think it would be very smart to ask the people in the know and not just, the popular voices, and to have both the experiences, true stories of their experience, and also the whole spectra up to the top minds in our society, like the scientists. That is something that is missing in media, actually. So it's more about entertaining and keeping, the same reality picture that we are used to, staying in the consensus, as you said, Alex. And we are trying to find new ways and new forums and new ways to encourage each other as a group to have the courage to go out there and actually speak up for the phenomena and what we are seeing.
Sure. And I would just add that even though it appears that there is nothing going on here, of course, the phenomena is global, and so is the interest in the phenomena from our security states, our military, and our intelligence community. And that is the case here as well. but the official policy is that there's nothing to see here really. And the Air Force are asked about it. They say, no, we have no reports and no interest in it, and just implying that there is no reality behind it, which is, I don't see how it's possible to get away with that after everything that's happened in the last few years, but somehow they do. And I think that could partly be explained by the fact that we have a history of trusting our government here, unlike the US, for example. So if that's what we've been told, then very few people question that. Even people interested in this topic realize that there is actually an active but clandestine interest from the intelligence community, even in little old Sweden.
Yeah, exactly. And for example, when I saw these 4 orbs passing over, I also saw the fighter jets afterwards. So I'm very curious why the military doesn't really confess that they are also interested in the phenomena, and they have the satellites and they have the technology to probably see them as well. As we know, the Nimitz incident, for example, they can be spotted and seen. So it's interesting, and we just want, a public discussion about this. And we think that one way of reaching this, what we call disclosure, is actually to have this ECRI initiative to find solid proof and present it, spread it.
That's amazing, because you really went a big step forward. It's not just telling people, educating people or letting them know where the sources are, but also trying to find them. So the ECRI is actually the European Crash Retrieval Initiative. And could you talk a little bit about that, since it's very interesting?
Yeah, Alex, do you want to start?
Yeah, well, you gotta aim high, I guess, So we are, as you said, we just, why not just go for it? Like, we know the stuff is out there, and let's try to find it. Let's try to present it. Let's try to analyze it scientifically. And even though neither Tomas nor I are any scientists to speak of, like, we have actually got some people around us that are much more competent than we are. So I think we actually starting to put together the necessary logistics to go about this if we were to find something.
Yeah, because you are collaborate with Ocean X team, with the VASCO. We have the support of Beatriz Villarroel and the VASCO Project. So I mean, you got the best minds. So to do this, which is very actually refreshing. So, and you say, I read that you are interested both in historical crash sites, alleged crash sites, and also contemporary. Do you have, and you want to map, of course, map them, and of course go on spot, if I understood correctly, and if there are a possibility of any remains, or to look for them and then to study them scientifically. So do you have already like a map of the next steps that you want to take?
Yeah, for sure. Like, yeah, we want to keep all doors open. So as you said, historical, contemporary cases, everything is of interest. And if there is historical crashes, we have, as you mentioned, Ocean X. If anyone has the competence to actually go dig out the UFO, it'd be those guys. They've been involved with this thing called the Baltic Sea anomaly, and they actually have some experience of this kind of work already, which not many people in the public sphere do. But of course, some issues do come with that as well, with historical crashes, because, well, the main one being, as already alluded to, there is a massive interest from the intelligence community in this topic, and there is very little reason to expect that we would be the first people there if there's a well-known historical crash.
Of course.
But we don't want to close any doors, and there might be historical crashes that are not well known yet. But in this case, we have, can have access to some interesting technology like ground penetrating radar and this kind of thing to look into it. But perhaps most likely, I would guess, is that someone out there already has some material, but they haven't had a channel to have it properly looked at scientifically, and maybe they haven't felt that there is somewhere they can really turn, someone who they can really trust with this material. And there I would just really like to emphasize that if someone is to send something into us, we make no claims on this material whatsoever. We're not going to confiscate anything. So I just want people to feel confident to reach out if they think they might have anything or know anything of interest.
Yeah, that's a very important point that you also describe in the website. It's not just, I mean, if people are in possession of something that they believe could have a anomalous origin, they could reach to you and have it tested. That's actually a big thing.
So the roadmap right now, I would say, like, sorry to cut you short there, but it's just, I mean, it's a brand new initiative. So right now it's just getting the word out there that we're here as an alternative. And also we're hoping to expand our network by collaborating with various existing networks around Europe. So if you are part of some group interested in this topic around Europe, don't hesitate to reach out. We would really like to collaborate and share our findings on this. Everything for us is about openness, and any analysis that we do is going to be open sourced. It's going to be public knowledge, and we're not trying to keep anything for ourselves here.
That's great.
Can I add a little bit to Alex also? I think it's very important that also the material, whatever it is, will be looked at in many different laboratories, and so that it doesn't just stay in one place. We want to spread it and to have multiple data. And this data is, of course, to be published in a scientific way, so it can be peer reviewed and to get this, dignity that it deserves, because we have historically seen materials, and like it has been it has been debunked and it has been disappeared, and that's a problem that we see over and over again. So by spreading this and to have interdisciplinary different minds look at the material, we hope to have a very broad analysis of what we can find. Also, we are really interested to have, as Alex said, a growing network, and to just have different input from all kinds of different research, basically, not just the hard research, but also the psychologists and anthropologists and experiencers, also what they are experiencing. And even if we cannot take our hands on something, the data and the experiences are really interesting to also gather. And it's all a question of spreading out in a network that is wide in as many countries as possible in Europe, so that we can be very fast. So in the other scenario that we actually have a hot case, something happening right now, we realize the importance of being very quick to respond to this. And that's why we need eyes on the ground, and we need to have not just like rushing into things, because it is, of course, a very, very serious undertaking, but to have some protocols that we can rest upon, and to have already a dialogue with these people on ground, so we can be fast. Yeah, I think that's the main thing.
Oh, fascinating. Sure. And I also like your approach, multidisciplinary, because it's much needed. I mean, science is not about compartmentalizing, but it's about spreading, you know, and make everything transparent for the public, for other scientists, and to look for cooperation and for different
Certainly.
ideas.
And if it's anything we've been missing in this field, it's precisely that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And one good thing that I'm seeing personally, at least I hope I'm seeing it in the new in this new group that are actually um, coming out now is a a much deeper sense of collaboration and collaborative at least inclination. Because, for example, there are many. I come from Italy originally, and there are actually the history of UFO is pretty strong in Italy. There were a lot of cases, and there were actually two major ufological centers. There are a lot of actors that during the last 50 years made great work, of course, to find proof, to collect data, but somehow there was never a collaboration between. There was always an individual effort by some peoples, but somehow they were all detached, you know, and there was never a really, probably it was a different time, I guess.
Yeah.
So it was a different time. There was even more stigma than it is today. So it was even more difficult. But today I'm finally seeing something that kind of give us hope that we want to achieve something together. We want to really come to the truth of this. I don't know if you agree with that.
And the thing is, when we let go of our ego and like a hierarchy that someone is in charge, but instead thinking we are standing shoulder by shoulder and we're doing this together because we want disclosure and not for the sake of, you know, fame or anything, money, or it's just because we want to have answers. So that's when I think we can actually start to have a real true mission to solve this. That's what I think. Because if you are like one person striving to, you know, find fame or anything, and then it's so easy to pinpoint that individual and make a difficult situation, right? But if we are many people, it will be just, you know, I think that's the solution to the whole problem. And that's also a thing that we are, as a society, growing and developing into, right? To be thinking less of the ego, but more of the entire planet and what's the, you know, the best thing for the planet. And that's why you and I, Alex, we are at the same here, and we just believe that we are moving into time when it's crucial that we will help this planet and human as a human race globally. And that's, I mean, it doesn't have to be harder than that to have that ambition. I think, yeah, it's the only ambition you should have in this. Of course, we can find great technology, and of course, it can be later developed by companies and countries and so on, of course, but that is nothing that we in ECRI are, you know, thinking about. We would just want to publish and get a disclosure of what we already know exists out there.
Great point. Actually, and you touched another great point, experiencers. I don't know if you want to get into that, since you both are experiencers. You experience the phenomenon in different ways, and I think that, like you said, experiences are also a very important part of of course, from a scientific point of view, science needs to take its own path and analyze data, and it cannot say anything 100% until it's really 100% sure. Maybe it will never be 100% sure, but it will take a lot of time. But meanwhile, the phenomenon is occurring, and there are many people experiencing it, many sensor detecting it. So I mean, it's worth starting the conversation. I really liked your what you stated in your website. You start from the assumption. I mean, not the assumption, but the understanding that the phenomenon is real. So
Mm. Yeah,
let's
that's
cut
been
all the crap.
important to us from the beginning, because we need to get past that. Like, and I think this constant hedging also from people within ufology saying like, if
Yeah,
this is da 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 da, it does us a disfavor. We know that this stuff is for real, and we do know that crash retrieval is reality. We need to start speaking with some authority on this, I think. And to your question about experiencers, I think, like, I mean, this is a sort of a nuts and bolts initiative that we're doing here,
yeah,
but it's always important to listen to what witnesses and experiencers have to say. They will certainly be able to give us good information to go on. I wouldn't doubt.
yeah,
And frankly, also listen to what the messages that are being communicated by the NHIs themselves. I think that's something that's still a taboo within ufology, and maybe something that I shouldn't sit here and talk about representing this quite strict scientific initiative, but I think people shouldn't discount that as well.
yeah. Everything
I
is
agree,
data.
Alex.
Sorry. Yeah, and so also talking about the education part, because I think that one of the reason why, of course, the ufologists and all the researchers are always putting the prefix if, it's probably to try to engage with some people that would just block the conversation, that would just
Yeah.
run away. But still, I'm always wondering if there's a better way to do it, because as you said, as you pointed out, these methods didn't prove to be the right one. It didn't really
We
work.
haven't been terribly successful in convincing the public yet. So, well, I mean, I don't want to knock anyone, and I think there's a time and a place for everything. But when we are talking to each other, there's no need for this hedging.
Yeah,
I think
that's true. That's true. And I also think that the UFO, like Twitter community, X community, for example, is so vast that if anyone uh, was were really interested into finding out the truth, and we could solve this whole mystery, together. I mean, it could be like really one of the because the community, of course, is not that huge, but it's big, But somehow I'm seeing a lot of pettiness and a lot of people, just angry with each other, which I don't think would lead, like you said, Thomas. The ego is probably the biggest enemy in the search for truth, also in this area, especially in this area. So
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah.
yeah, so talking about going back to the nuts and bolts stuff, to the European Crash Retrieval Initiative, how could people, for example, help the initiative? People from other organization, scientists, or people, students, or whoever may be listening this.
Well, this is something we've been talking a lot about, and we want to accept help from any direction, but it can also sometimes be logistically difficult. So what we really are looking for is established networks around Europe that can be sort of represent us on a national level. So, exchanging information, and as Thomas said earlier, can be our sort of boots on the ground come any potential hot case. So just existing networks that would like to collaborate is something that we really are looking for. So just officially reaching a hand out to anyone who's interested in doing that.
Thomas, you want to add something, or?
No, I think that's the main point, really. And I think also as an initiative, and as being a coordinator of ECRI along together with you, Alex, we are not the scientists, but we do have like scientists, for example, Beatrice, also Anders Varell from the University of Lund, and they have a very strong network of these interdisciplinary contacts. And we want to be very clear that we are going to use these communicative, like networks of communication and competence, and we are going to spread these networks also. So we hope that people will realize that we will not be like a closed club sticking with our own like team, but we are we are just spreading out here, and we will share like material and knowledge and questions. So if people like this, and if they want to join and do their own, start their own avalanche in their country, we are, as Alex said, more than glad to just incorporate them and see where we can go. I mean, we have just started, I think, is it 3 months now, Alex, since we launched ECRI? And it was through the initiative and collaboration of Beatrice and her VASCO research program. So we have set up a homepage, a page where you can report your sites, like crashed sites and observations. But also you can just, make it as simple as make us write an email, and we'll get back to you and see where we can go from there. And we are just doing this pro bono, so and that means we're doing it with a passion, right? The money will be arranged when we decide on a specific case that we will act on, and we have some interested people like who are interested in funding. We have had a couple of cases that we've looked into and started like investigating, and we've seen that this organization has everything it needs to actually go and just let's do this. So when we find the case that we are really interested in, we will go for it all in.
Okay, I see. So that's the plan. So to find to tackle down a single case, like for example, a first case, and to go and investigate it.
Yeah,
well,
like
yeah, I mean,
we've had, we have to investigate quite really thoroughly, and assess if this is actually something that we are going to, go all in for. What were you saying, Alex?
No, just basically what you were saying there, that we've had some interesting things already to look at, but nothing that quite has merited some kind of excavation attempt or anything like that yet.
I see. Yeah, because of course, with this initiative, one of the things that myself and everybody will be very interested to is also to know which, if there are very known crash sites in Europe. It's not a topic that is very well discussed. We know something, for example, we know now the Italian 33 cases because of David Grush, that it was known by some people, and also you can we know where the material was actually stored, for example. But now it would be probably impossible to go there and find anything, because it's like already they built over it, and so there is a totally different reality. So I don't know if you can share, for example, one of your favorite case. It doesn't need to be something you're working on, and maybe
for sure, like one that I find interesting, a local case, but again, this is not something that we're going to go looking for various reasons. But you're probably familiar with the ghost rockets.
Oh yeah.
In the sort of late 40s, we had these hundreds and hundreds of reports of rocket-like phenomena crashing into various bodies of water. And so there are loads of those cases, but one in particular that's very well documented crashed in front of the eyes of our Swedish military commander-in-chief. Yeah, you heard about this. Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, the one that produces all this paper trail, right? It's
right. Yeah, exactly. The Americans came to look for it,
exactly.
and they did. Also, the Swedish military went to try to fish it out. I think the excuse they used was that his wife lost her engagement ring in the lake or something. But I think I don't know if they found anything. I think there is some indication that they might have, but I don't know that. But something that just adds a little bit of flavor to this also is that Sweden was one of the first nations at this point to try to develop a nuclear weapons program at this time. This is something that was cancelled later, but we were quite far ahead with this plan at this point, which I think, one of the first countries to do so. And just given the connection to nuclear weapons, if you look at the earliest crash sites in America, it's potentially something there.
That's also very interesting.
Mm.
And also Sweden had a very important role in the history of UFOs, actually. The UFO
I suppose. I mean, the ghost rocket thing was, it's before the term flying saucer and all of that. So yeah, it goes way back here.
Exactly.
And that's I think it's very interesting in the research that Beatrice Villarreal does. She found out that it was, you could see vanishing transients, like stars in the sky, or what you don't know what it is, but it's like the pre-satellite era. And for me, that's a very interesting data, and I would consider it actually proof of something. And when you have a scientist that actually is not just saying, oh, it's a UFO, but covers all the possible explanations and looks at it statistically, what is, the possibilities for this and that, and then present this in a scientific way. These are the researchers, and this is the study that we need to do over and over again to change the public opinion in this subject. And I think when we can find materials, and it could be, tiny microscopic materials like metals with very strange isotopic ratios, for example. And maybe, as you said, Alex, we can now have better equipment, ground penetrating radars, for example, with higher, efficiencies. And then we maybe can go back to cold cases, and maybe we can, find something. We don't know, but there are so many alleged crash sites. And of course, they have been dug and, excavated over and over again, and maybe also contaminated with, fake materials and metals. So it's finding a needle in a haystack, basically. So, but it's also very hard for hiding these things, because there are so many crashes, like this ghost rockets. I think in the Scandinavian countries, it was more than 1,000 of reports of these cylindrical UFOs, as they call them, crashing into the lakes, but also moving into the water and out from the water again. I think it's a bit similar to this jellyfish UFO. George Knapp was reporting about this, and it went. I don't know if they have decided or if they found proof, but some witness statement says that it moved into the water and then out again. But this is quite anomalous, I think. But then again, I mean, it's the hot cases that really I'm really excited about, and we have recent witness accounts that have reached us from via different channels through our networking in UAP Sweden, and we are looking into them, and we're having, you know, very deep interviews, and we're trying to make a puzzle if we have also like hotspots where we can see that in just maybe 6 months of a period, we can actually see that we have a higher concentration of sightings. Also, perhaps having landed crafts. And of course, this is just like possibilities, and we try to go there, and we try to ask the person or the person's IRL, you know, like not just as we do here, but a very important thing in this quest is actually to go out there and meet people for real. That's what I think. And actually, you know, go out in the bush. If you see something fall down, go there and have a look. I mean, sure, be careful, and you don't know what to find. And the biggest, you know, the holy grail is of course to find an intact craft from a different, you know, planet or dimension or whatever it is. And this is of course a very exciting scenario to think of, and how you should do then. But the most likely is of course to find the, you know, the tiny fragments and to have them analyzed in multiple labs.
Of course. Wow, I really hope you can find what you're looking for. That would be probably good for all the, I mean, not probably, surely for all for the whole world.
Yeah.
And I think that independent efforts are the future, because I guess we all need to contribute the way we can in order to find something that may change public perception on this topic. So yeah, let's just one question about Sweden, since you mentioned modern cases. I'd be interested, for example, to know if there are if the phenomenon is actually being reported often today, since you are also in UAP Sweden, so you have also have contact with testimonies and people who tell you, for example, what they saw.
Certainly. I mean, UAP Sweden is also not a very old organization, or it's barely an organization, it's a network rather. But we have a lot of people coming in with many interesting witness testimony. And for instance, Tomas, you do your podcast where you bring witnesses forward, and yeah, I mean, there's a lot of activity, but this is something that has not really, again, this is something that escapes the people that it's not happening to, and that's something we're trying to do our little part in changing.
Yeah, absolutely. So one final question could be, we like to ask this to everybody. You actually, I think, Thomas, you probably already said it at the beginning, but what was the experience that changed it all for you? The turning point, the unmistakable moment where you said, okay, this phenomenon is real. It could be an experience, but if you're not an experiencer, it could be whatever, you know, a book or something that you saw, like a testimony you heard, or a thought you made on the phenomenon. So Thomas, you would like to
Thomas,
start?
you
already said your experience.
I mean, you have previous experiences as well, but I mean, I think it's interesting. I mean, you should say that yourself, Thomas, but for you already had seen a UFO earlier, but it was when you saw it together with your daughter that you could really trust your own eyes.
Yeah,
really.
exactly. Yeah, and that's what really, you know, makes me think about how I function. And of course, I have, you know, been schooled through the system of rational thought, and I'm a teacher as a profession. So I actually realized then that I needed so much more to trust what I have experienced. because I did see maybe 30 years ago, I saw a triangular shaped UFO. I did, but I saw it and I just ignored it. And that was very strange. But when I saw these four orbs in aligning in different geometrical shapes passing by against the wind, and also having a communication with me and my daughter, it was, for me, a life-changing experience. And I realized this cannot be anything human, not as we know it. Then I think my life changed, and it hasn't been the same since, to be honest. Yeah, but I think the main thing is that I looked back and I opened up so many other experiences that I was just shutting them down. And from then on I've had also other experiences, difficult to explain, but sure, just sightings as well. But I think the main, the biggest, my biggest to grow as an individual is to speak with other people, and just accepting that what they have seen and what they have experienced is true for them. And of course, there are prosaic, 98% or so of what we experience as a UFO or UAP, it's something that we can explain, of course, but we shouldn't put that on someone else. I think the main thing when someone tells you about a life-changing experience is to have a very high respect for that, and not try just to be, master the person and try to let them, hesitate themselves. I don't know what we gain from that, really. Yeah, so I want to help people, to destigmatize the whole subject, and I think we can become a better human race, and we can realize that we are not on top of, the world. We are not the most intelligent life form out there, and to be a bit more humble and to be a bit more collaborating and peacemaking. I think that's the way forward.
Wow, it was really, really inspiring. Actually, I can feel that this experience was very changed you deeply. I mean, it had a great impact. So, if I may ask, if it's something that you feel comfortable, was it hard to because of course such an experience can change completely your worldview? It's a big ontological shock, like a huge ontological shock. So was that like a very long process to assimilate, or was it good at the end? The outcome was good or bad?
Oh, that's a great question, and I think I haven't really processed everything still, actually. Mm-hmm. It was also very interesting to try to reach out to the normal UFO network in Sweden, like the organizations we had back then. And I realized they are not willing to accept this greater reality. And I felt that something was missing there. And when we looked at other forums and spoke to other persons, we just felt that there are so many people feeling the same way. So yeah, and that was a big revelation to me. I didn't understand that it was like this. So to answer your question, I think I am still in a process of change and realizing everything about this. But I am not afraid of this. I think it's the future. I mean, just to accept and understand. And then, I mean, it's not just what we can gain from this, but also what, you know, the NHI and us can do together. I think so many focuses are what we can gain from things, and it's just good to think a bit wider.
Of course, absolutely. Okay, and thanks for sharing this.
Sure.
And Alexander?
Yeah, I'm just gonna have a much shorter and less inspiring answer to your original question, and I think it was just seeing David Fravers' testimony, because I was really blind to this phenomenon for a long time, and just like so many others, just had my blinders on and went about my life without really engaging with this phenomenon at all. And I did have some strange experiences unrelated to this, but even after that, remained blind to the actual reality of the UFO phenomena. But just seeing this squarish military dude giving it a very real account, that I think that's the thing that really, then I was like, whoa, and I started to dig deeper.
Yeah, I think that case, which is considered the most important UFO case ever, is probably not the most exceptional, but surely it came in the right moment. I think it was the right guy, the right person, the right moment, the right story for what people were actually like able to hear and accept at that very moment. So, guys, it was a great conversation. I really enjoyed very much. It was very inspiring, and I wish you, of course, the best for your initiative. And please, if you when you move forward, when you start finding stuff, or just when you want to come back telling us something, please do it.
Yeah, pleasure to be here. And as you say, next time, hopefully we'll be holding a little piece for you.
Oh, for everybody, for the whole world.
Yeah.
Thank you very much,
Indeed.
guys. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.